Welcome back to ShefF1. This is a Spotify exclusive.
Well, hey.
Oh, okay. This is a Spotify exclusive because we went overtime on our Las Vegas review on Forge Radio, which you can listen to every Thursday, 6 till 7. But that obviously is all in the previous episode on our Spotify account. Do make sure to check out our Instagram account as well, because in this episode we're going to be talking about Abu Dhabi Grand Prix predictions. That is quite the tongue twister. Abu Dhabi Grand Prix predictions. There we go. That's going to be the main point of focus today. And if you forget who we predict, then you can either obviously rewind the clip, or you can go and check out our Instagram, ShefF1 Podcast, where Seb makes some lovely graphics, and it's very worth your while to follow. This is a terrible intro. I need to get better at these. It's you learn the knack for the live radio ones, and then you completely just don't know what you're doing for these pre-recorded ones. But Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, final race of the season. Seb and Amy, are we glad to see the back of 2023?
In ways, yes. From a personal perspective, I think, sort of supporting Alpine a bit this year. It's not been a great year for them. AlphaTauri had a bit of a honker. And it hasn't been a title fight. No. And, it's sort of, the midfield battle's not been that exciting, let's be real. It's not, there hasn't been that many unpredictable moments and things like that.
It's a case of who's going to finish last. Ooh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not been the most exciting season, but there is, I think, hope for next year that it'll be more interesting, especially with the title fight potentially. I'm not too optimistic about it. But I'm thinking that maybe McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, they've all shown glimmers that potentially they've got something to work with. So I'm excited about next year. I'm quite sad that the back of this year, it's...
Yeah. I mean, it's been an incredible season as an F1 fan to watch Max Verstappen. He obviously broke the record for the longest run of wins, and then he's also got the third current longest run of wins in one season. So it's been an incredible season, and I think it's been the best individual season from a driver we've ever seen.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And that car is incredible. So as an F1 fan, you've really got to appreciate watching that. But like you said, for my team, McLaren, it's been also an amazing season. It's been the most podiums Lando's had. It's been incredible to see Oscar Piastri. He's not going to be a rookie anymore. He's going to have this experience going into next year. And the car, I think, is just going to be, hopefully, don't want to get ahead of myself, but competing for race wins.
We're all struggling, aren't we? We've been in this tiny room for about 2 hours, okay? And so we are not itching to get out, but we're itching to get this broadcast out of the way, plain and simple. Let's be honest. But we do enjoy this, I promise. Yeah. Abu Dhabi Grand Prix predictions then. It doesn't usually throw a spanner in the works in terms of performance. You tend to see a pretty sort of standard order of performance. You see the fastest cars at the front, you see the slowest ones towards the bottom. A really boring and mundane way to put it, but it is usually quite a boring and mundane Grand Prix weekend, I have to say. If it isn't hosting a season finale with a championship on the line, Abu Dhabi isn't all that entertaining most of the time.
I say it's quite a balanced sort of layout circuit. Yeah. You get a bit of everything, so it's, the cream does rise to the top in this sort of circuit. I think we've obviously seen Red Bull, sort of in the stands out for the past couple of years. Obviously, I think Verstappen's got 3 poles, 3 wins in a row sort of thing. Obviously 2021 we don't talk about, I do think that Red Bull, once again, they'll be supremely strong. I think it suits them more than Vegas, where they still manage to come out on top. And if they're coming out on top on circuits where they're not, it's not 100% suited to their car, circuits where they are, it does suit their car. Let's face it. I mean, it could be pretty boring. I think it would be quite fitting though for Verstappen to round out the year with a victory. I don't think it's not.
Would it be 19 race wins if he does win, which is mental? That annoys me. Why can't you get 20? Why?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Is that out of 22?
Yeah. Yes. It just annoys me that he didn't get 20.
Can we have China back on, or Imola?
Yeah.
What, right at the
just
end?
Just so
you get 20.
Yeah,
20 out of 23 and 20.
Yeah, 2023. Yeah, that's right. Which is just wild. That is, as you said, Amy, it is the most impressive individual season by a driver and even by a team. Red Bull, their first 1-2 actually in a
really weird
in a drivers' championship, which
thinking
is
how
strange.
dominant they've been. You think obviously the Vettel era, I think especially 2013.
Yeah, and so how good a driver Mark Webber was as well. It does come as a surprise that this is their first 1-2, even last season as well.
Yeah.
You know, they had again the fastest car on the grid by some margin, and even with Sergio Perez's woes this season, it's surprising that he is second in the championship himself.
Arguably one of his worst seasons.
Yeah. And it's the highest he'll ever finish in the championship.
Yeah,
it's really strange.
It's an odd one. I think McLaren will be. They'll 100% be stronger than they were last weekend. This weekend,
definitely.
It definitely suits them. I think they could be once again in the hunt for the podium. I think
definitely pole position. I think if we're gonna do a winner excluding Max, I'm going Lando Norris. I
wouldn't recommend that. I did that last weekend. Now I've been hugely mugged off.
I see. Last weekend I was definitely more on the Charles train, where I was like, I'd put £2 on Charles getting pole.
Two whole pounds, ladies and gentlemen.
I'd do one whole pound for Lando Norris getting pole position this weekend.
Oh wow!
And I think he's got something to prove in a way. He's always that sort of driver. Obviously, Oscar had that incredible race last weekend, and he still wants to prove going into 2024 that I am still the leader of this team. I am the number one driver, and maybe he'll want to show that he made a mistake last weekend, but he won't make a mistake this weekend and go and get pole position. And if I'm going to say a win other than Max, then I'm going to say Lando Norris again.
I think their race pace as well in Vegas was surprisingly impressive.
Yeah.
So I think that in races they've been pretty quick. I think Mercedes could have a good weekend.
Really?
I was thinking I had a little bit of a hunch for Mercedes, particularly Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, we know how good he was in previous years there.
Well, he had an impressive race at Vegas, I thought, considering he had that damage and contact with Alonso and then came to finish 7th, was it? 6th or 7th?
Yeah.
Just slightly behind Carlos Sainz. So he still had an impressive race there, with all things considering. But I'm opposite to you. I think Mercedes is going to have a bit of a stinker again.
Okay.
And I think Ferrari are going to be the better out of the two. And I think I could see definitely both of them outscoring Mercedes and getting P2 in the Constructors' Championship.
It's very close, only 4 points in that, which is pretty impressive for Ferrari, I think, to get. I think either of them, if they finish P2 in the Championship, I think that's impressive relative to their circumstances this year. So I think that's something to look out for. I think elsewhere, obviously the fight for P4 in the standings, that's something to look out for. That'll be interesting to see. If Alonso pulls that off, I think that is testament to how great of a year it's been to him. Yeah. Considering the sort of drop off from the Aston Martin, I think they could have an okay weekend. I think it'll be one of those weekends where the 5 big teams, it's very hard for anyone outside that to get into the points.
Yes, I'm with you. I think the top 10 will be Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari. You said Aston Martin or Alpine?
Martin. I think Alpine could have a good. I think again they were impressive at Vegas relative to the track characteristics, and this is again another circuit that suits them more. And there is obviously the inter-teammate battle for P11 at Alpine, which I think if Ocon does manage to outscore Gasly by 4 points, that would be, something to take from the year, something to say that, I am still, when it comes to the races, I am still up there as one, at least equal with Pierre, and I can still be the team leader here. So I think it's pretty important that, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some contact between the two.
Yeah.
Drive to Survive gold mine, right there.
P11.
No, but they will make a way to sort of make it far more intriguing than it actually is. Well, it is intriguing, but they'll make it far more important than it actually is.
Who do you think's finishing? Is it 4th? Then out of the Carlos, Fernando, Lando, and Charles. I think Charles got no chance.
Yeah, it was weird because I think last week I was like, Lando's definitely going to do it. The package he's got, he's definitely going to get it. But now he does have to outscore Alonso and Sainz by 5 points.
I think his main problem is going to be Carlos this weekend for me.
Who usually performs quite well around Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi seems to be one of them tracks that Carlos Sainz likes to exert a lot of pace around.
Yes.
Podium there in that terrible car back in 2022. No, 2021.
Not 2021.
He was 4th last year.
Yeah, 2021 he was on the podium.
2021 he finished 3rd. It was Ferrari's only podium that year, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was an awful season.
It was a terrible car. But and then that Tsunoda drive as well. the follow.
P4.
Yeah, P4. I think Carlos Sainz could be in for a pretty strong weekend. I fancy Charles Leclerc, but that's not important right now. I think Lando Norris.
I fancy Charles Leclerc too.
It's a case of I think in terms of who will come out on top in the race, I do think Lando Norris has a very strong chance of finishing above the rest of them in the race. Whether it'll be enough, that's still up in the air. But
so who are you going for? P4.
I need to watch. I need to
look.
One
prediction right here. Sainz 200 points, Alonso 200 points, Norris 195 points, Leclerc 188 points.
That's all got in one ear and out the other. I need to check the standings.
I think Leclerc's out of it.
Yeah, Leclerc's not.
Norris has a chance, but he needs everything to go his way.
Yeah.
I think Sainz for me is the favourite.
I think, he's definitely the favourite, but my favourite, I'm going Lando Norris with this. I think he's going to outscore Carlos Sainz by 5 points, surely. I think Lando Norris is going to get a podium this weekend, and I don't think I can see Carlos Sainz there. Yeah. So ultimately, he will just beat him in my mind.
I got one other, sort of interesting thing for Abu Dhabi. Obviously, Logan Sargent has the chance. It's his last chance of the season to get that O off his record. 21-0 so far in qualifying against Alex Albon. And, we saw it a couple of years ago. Yuki Tsunoda was in exactly the same circumstance going into Abu Dhabi, and he managed to do it. He managed to get that one on his qualifying. Can Logan Sargent do it, guys?
No.
Ooh. Is there a crowd excited sound effect on my board here?
This is the talking point of the weekend, guys.
I don't know.
No.
I'd say no as well. He had a very impressive stint.
Do you think so?
No. He had a very impressive Saturday in Las Vegas, did Logan Sargent. Yeah. But there's no real reason for him to do. I don't know. I can't give you a reason why that would happen, really.
Unless something goes drastically wrong for Albon. I can't see that happening.
But if it rains,
do you know what?
You know what? I'm saying yes.
Oh, wow.
Right now, Logan Sargent is going to get into Q3.
£1 on
Q3?
50k. He's going to get into Q3.
Q3?
And he's going to out-qualify Alex Albon, who goes out in Q2.
If there's more chance of it raining in Abu Dhabi than that happening, frankly. I think that if that is the reason why he gets... That will be the reason why he gets into Q3, because it starts raining in the middle of the Yas Island desert, I think... Sorry, do you want me to answer the P4 question? Or have we moved on from that by now? I am thinking I'm going to go with... I don't like this. I'm going to go... You know what, Lando Norris, why not? Why not? 5 points doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're not fighting for the top 3 positions on track, which is... Although, you could finish on the podium, and that I think a P3, regardless of where anybody... Oh, no, he'd have to... And then... Fernando and Carlos could not finish P4. They'd have to finish P5 and below. Although, no, because Carlos has a win. So that would then tie them on points, wouldn't it? So then
Carlos obviously count back. Yeah.
He's got that fire in his belly, I think, Lando Norris, to be able... I think he'll be looking at this and he won't be just thinking, this is only 4th. He wants to prove something, and he wants to show that McLaren had an incredible season, something we'll probably never see again from a car, to bring a package so different from the start.
Yes.
He will want to do that for his team. He'll want to do that for himself, establish dominance going into 24, and he won't just see this as going for 4th. He'll see this as something special that he'll want to get, and I think I can see him having that extra passion this weekend and getting to 4th.
I do have to ask though, sorry.
No.
Will he be physically ready to return to the track? Because he was in a
I was quite
bad way
worried, to be fair.
after his crash at Las Vegas. He was on hospital, clearly off his face on anaesthetic, and so he sounded rough on the radio. Obviously, McLaren haven't come out with an official statement saying, okay, Lando Norris won't be able to continue for this weekend. There is a chance that he might not be able to. He certainly won't be 100%. Yeah, whether that will impact his performance or not, I don't know. But chances are, if you're not physically, say he's got like a sprained wrist or something like that, it might mean that could cost him P4 in the championship.
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz stands a pretty good chance. I don't think Fernando Alonso will have the car to do it.
No.
Charles Leclerc is too far behind in the points race to really, he'd have to pull off a bit of a miracle drive.
And the others would have to have a stinker.
I'm gonna go with Carlos Sainz will retain P4. I know I said, I said it sounded like
Norris.
I said Norris a few minutes ago, but that was quite a shallow sort of.
Pato Ward is actually going to be racing for the
Is he filling in an FP1?
Yeah.
I think loads. Obviously, I think nearly every team will be
Ollie
having.
Berman's on it again.
Ollie Berman, Jake Dennis,
Jack Doohan.
Jack Doohan.
what's he called?
Felipe
The Brazilian,
Drugovich.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who else? Is Fred Vesti jumping in for Mercedes?
Maybe.
Not sure.
Well, it's obviously F2 championship as well.
As well,
this
Yes,
yeah.
we've got an exciting weekend of F2 in store. Teo Porcher, Frederic Vesti, and Ayumu Iwasa all fighting for the first place spot in the championship. All drivers part of academies that have pretty direct routes into F1. Teo Porcher with that Sauber connection, Ayumu Iwasa in the Red Bull setup, and then Fred Vesti driving for Mercedes. I don't think there's room for any of them on the grid next year, realistically, with the way in which their driver academies liken themselves to other teams. You know, the only spot available really is that Williams seat,
Yeah.
but it will be Logan Sargent's seat. Let's be real.
I think he secured that basically last weekend.
Last weekend, even in Brazil as well, the race was pretty strong, and so I think, and then obviously the points in Texas as well.
And Williams obviously released that video saying it was James Val's.
Who's now on Instagram, by the way?
Yes, he is, and he obviously made that video on Williams' Instagram saying how Logan had a different setup to Alex this season, and probably sympathising with him. And to me, if you're going to release that, I guess that shows that you're sticking with him.
I'd be surprised that they did. I am surprised, sorry, that they didn't announce it at Las Vegas. That seems like a missed opportunity there.
Maybe it shows there's some sort of doubts potentially.
Maybe,
but
I don't know.
I think he's wrapped
They
up.
must have made the decision by now, though. I mean, they've not given him the sort of Helmut Marko style ultimatum. Oh, you must finish in the points at Abu Dhabi, or else you've not got a seat. That seems a little bit unfair. But obviously, I'm blowing it out of proportion a little bit there. But I think that is his seat next year. And then none of the drivers, apart from Frederic Vesti, really have a particularly direct route to Williams. And whether he'll win the championship or not is still obviously up in the air.
And do we think Sergio Perez is now going to be? Is that his Red Bull seat? Because he's secured second place.
They would have sorted it out by now, I think.
Do you think he'll be there going into 24?
I think so. I think that. I don't think there's an obvious replacement other than Daniel Ricciardo. And now, obviously, with the news that Racing Bulls has been trademarked by Red Bull. I think that I saw something that they're getting a lot of attraction from sponsors and things like that, and because of Daniel Ricciardo's on the team, it's making it a lot easier. So I think that even if they even if they wanted to put him in that Red Bull seat, I think now there's a lot of reason to keep him in that Racing Bull seat.
I think as well, obviously, I think when we were talking about, is Sergio Perez the right man for the job, I was very strongly of the opinion that he is the perfect backup driver. But it didn't really occur to me that the other cars around Red Bull are now getting a lot faster and closing the gap. So I think 2024 could be the last season where Perez is a viable second driver until he becomes too slow in that seat, and then the other cars are consistently outperforming him in Sunday's races and stuff like that. So maybe this is Perez's last chance to sort of just make a bit of money, really. And I think it must be a contractual thing as well. He has got a contract for next year, right? So they might as well avoid any legal complications. It could cost Red Bull a lot of money as well. You look at the money that Daniel Ricciardo's made just by leaving teams over the last few years. He has made, was it like a 17 million? Pounds from a contract payout. So I think Red Bull just wants to avoid that. Maybe, obviously, I know it's not related to the cost cap, but they've got to watch out what they're spending.
I think also this is actually a big race for Perez this weekend because this is his last opportunity to put something on the board, because we've got obviously such a long break now until next season. If he leaves this season with a sour note, then those doubts are just going to be creeping at Helmut Marko's heads for the whole of winter. Whereas if he has a good result, then you sort of forget about the earlier doubts, and you think, he is a good driver. He's a good driver. Like, we're thinking from Vegas, he actually has got it. And even though that, a couple of weeks before, maybe we're thinking, So if he has I think Abu Dhabi is important for that, for Perez this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Let's. We haven't got much longer until our lecture, so let's wrap up our sort of quick predictions now. Should we do it in the same format as last weekend?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's.
These might not be set in stone.
No.
Might change
after practice session.
No, these should be set in stone. These should be set in stone. We can't have different answers. We can't have different answers. Right. Okay. So it is a little bit unfair that we are doing. Let's do the qualifying predictions now, and then we'll save the race predictions until qualifying is finished. That should be a nice sort of tradition we have here on ShefF1, because obviously stuff like the Carlos Sainz incident last weekend means it's very unfair. Okay. So we're doing qualifying predictions right here, right now on ShefF1 Spotify. Make sure to check out our Instagram for the lovely graphics that Seb will put up for this. So who will be on pole position for Abu Dhabi, Seb?
Can I say Max? I'm going to say Max.
Say Max if you want. Yeah, sure. Go on, Amy.
Lando Norris.
Lando Norris. Is that excluding Max, or are you keeping Max in there?
not excluding Max. No, he'll get P2.
Excluding Max. Wow. I'm gonna go with Max Verstappen on this one as well. I want to play devil's advocate and say someone else, but I'm just, unlike Vegas where I was confident someone else could get pole and someone else did get pole, not the one that I was predicting, but someone, I feel as though there is no way that anyone else is getting pole position
Max,
here.
Though, who's yours?
Hamilton.
I'm gonna go with Sainz. I think Carlos Sainz has a bit of pace round and round Abu Dhabi. Okay, the start of qualifying. So this is definitely excluding Max Verstappen.
Okay, I think I'm going to go for Oscar Piastri.
Piastri, okay.
I'd like to say Daniel Ricciardo. I don't know if I have to go flop or star, but I think this is the last race for him.
Sorry, two very... I don't know whether to go star or pole. No. Flop or star?
I'm going to go star because I think he realistically has to prove something this weekend to be able to have any chance of having that Red Bull seat next season. And the pressure will not get to him. It'll help him. And I think he'll use that to his advantage and we could see him potentially doing well in Q3.
I'm gonna go with Fernando Alonso because I think that Aston Martin won't be particularly quick on the Saturday. It might be able to do a job on the Sunday. Look at what Lance Stroll did around Vegas. That was an excellent
what a race.
drive.
We forgot to mention
we didn't mention that at all because we just hate Lance Stroll. Here, we don't hate Lance Stroll, but we
get on the podcast, mate.
Come join us. But no, we have doubted him this season, as has everybody realistically, including himself, and he would admit that. Not that I know him, but but we what was I saying? I think Fernando Alonso could drag a terrible Aston Martin into Q3, or even a very good Aston Martin into Q3. But because of how competitive that top 10 will be, for anyone to make it into Q3, it will be an impressive job. Biggest flop of qualifying?
Ooh, I don't know for this one because obviously I've already said that I think that the top 10 is going to be those 5 teams.
Yeah.
So I don't. Obviously, the obvious is Lance Stroll, but I'm not going to go for Lance Stroll because I think that's too easy. So I'm gonna do something which actually I'm gonna say Pierre Gasly.
I was just about to say
Gasly.
Oh
because then if I'm right, well, I was right, and if I'm wrong, happy days.
I want to say Gasly now.
I want to say Gasly because
I think it would be funny if all three of us said it. So let's stick with that for the sake of, and as well for the sake of getting this episode out of the way.
I think the pressure is out of the two because we're going to see, I think, a bit of a fight between the two Alpines.
Yes.
Out of the two, I think Ocon can keep his cool.
Oh.
Which it's not
interesting
shown, not proven by history.
Yeah.
But I think it means more to Pierre this season. But does it? I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe the maturity of and connection in the team with Ocon, the longevity of it all. I think he's ultimately going to come out on top, but out of the two. I'm sorry.
Will he get P11? Think he outscores Pierre by 4 points?
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
No. I don't.
These have been the most wishy-washy qualifying predictions. Daniel Ricciardo, star or flop? Who does it matter more to in Alpine? Should we all say Pierre Gasly biggest flop in qualifying then? Okay. Well, that will do it in terms of the Instagram predictions then. I think we all think Max Verstappen will win the race, but we will see. We will have more.
No, I don't. We don't.
We'll have more race predictions on our Instagram. They will be posted in due course. Make sure to follow that at ShefF1 podcast on Instagram. Make sure to tune in to our I nearly said Las Vegas. Make sure to tune in to our Abu Dhabi review next week at the same time, 6 p.m. on a Thursday. That's either on Spotify or on Forge Radio or Apple Podcasts as well. And keep an eye out for our YouTube channel as well, and keep an eye out for maybe a TikTok as well. We are going global, as I said in the previous episode. Thank you very much for listening to this preview. Thank you for Seb and Amy for joining me on the show, and hope we all enjoy the race this weekend. Goodbye.